What if everything you perceive as real isn't? What if the world around you, the colors you see, the sounds you hear, the very feeling of the chair beneath you, is a carefully constructed illusion, a grand performance staged entirely within your own skull? This isn't science fiction, it's the fascinating reality of how our brains work. Our brains don't experience the world directly. Instead, they receive a constant barrage of electrical and chemical signals from our senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. These signals are raw data, like a jumbled mess of letters. It's the brain's job to interpret this chaos, to weave it into a coherent narrative we call reality. But here's the catch: this interpretation is far from a perfect, objective representation of the external world. It's a highly subjective, edited, and often downright misleading reconstruction. Think about color. We perceive objects as having inherent colors, but in reality, color is a product of light wavelengths reflecting off surfaces. Our eyes contain specialized cells called cones that respond to different wavelengths, sending signals to the brain. The brain then translates these signals into the sensation of color. But what if your cones were slightly different? What if your brain processed these signals differently? You would literally see a different world. This isn't hypothetical. Color blindness is a perfect example of how variations in our sensory apparatus can lead to drastically different perceptual experiences. Our brains are also masters of filling in the blanks. Our eyes have a blind spot where the optic nerve connects to the retina. We don't perceive this gap in our vision because our brains seamlessly patch it up with surrounding information. This is just one example of how our brains actively construct our perception, often without us even realizing it. They're constantly making assumptions, predictions, and inferences based on past experiences, creating a seamless and seemingly complete picture of the world. But are these assumptions always correct? Consider optical illusions. These visual tricks exploit the brain's tendency to make assumptions about the world. From the classic mole-liar illusion, where two lines of the same length appear different due to arrowheads, to more complex illusions involving motion and depth, they demonstrate the fallibility of our perception. They reveal the underlying mechanisms by which our brains interpret visual information, and how easily those mechanisms can be fooled. These aren't just parlor tricks, they are powerful demonstrations of how our perception is constructed, not simply received. But the illusion extends beyond just vision. Our other senses are equally susceptible to manipulation. The McGurk effect, for example, demonstrates how what we see can influence what we hear. When we see a person mouthing one syllable, ga, while hearing another, ba, we often perceive a third, blended syllable, da. This shows the brain's tendency to integrate information from different senses, even when they conflict, creating a unified, albeit sometimes inaccurate, perception. Our memories, too, play a significant role in shaping our perception of reality. Our memories are not perfect recordings of the past, they are reconstructions, prone to distortion and embellishment. We often remember events not as they actually happened, but as we think they happened, or as we want to remember them. This can have profound implications for eyewitness testimony, for example, where memories can be influenced by leading questions or post-event information. So, where does this leave us? If our brains are constantly deceiving us, can we ever truly know reality? The answer is complex. While we can't escape the subjective nature of our perception, understanding how our brains construct reality allows us to become more aware of its limitations. By studying phenomena like optical illusions, sensory integration, and memory distortions, we gain valuable insights into the inner workings of the mind. This knowledge empowers us to question our assumptions, to be more critical of our perceptions, and to appreciate the remarkable complexity of the brain's interpretive processes. Perhaps the most important takeaway is this: what we perceive as reality is not a direct reflection of the world, but a carefully crafted story told by our brains. And understanding the storyteller is the first step to understanding the story itself. But what if even this understanding is just another layer of the illusion? That's a question perhaps best left for another time.